안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. 제 이름은 신태용이고요. Salam kenal, Bapak-bapak, ibu-ibu. Nama saya Taeyong Shim. Most people call me Mr. Shim. You call me Taeyong, Mr. Taeyong, whatever you want. Bahasa saya masih tidak bagus, so saya izin saya mau pakai bahasa English. Very happy to be here with you, and thank you very much, Bling Bling community, William and the team. It's a very big pleasure to be here to talk about. It's not serious, but it's not maybe so exciting to you because you're all super focused on stocks. I'm going to be talking about financial planning, which everybody needs. It's going to be relevant for you, so sit back. It's a very easy kind of a material, and I think it's exciting. So, sit back and let's dive right in. So, we are going to use the art of war, Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu once said, "GPG기, 백전불태." What this means is, know your enemy, know yourself, and you fight 100 battles, you will not be in peril. You will not be in danger. So, we're going to follow the recommendation of Sun Tzu, the author of The Art of War. Let's first of all know our enemies. We need to know our enemy in order to build a good financial planning. The first enemy is inflation. This is a movie ticket that I went through because I grew up in Indonesia. So this was 1992. I think I watched Bodyguard, Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston. Yeah, remember? In front there was Bakmi Gajah Mata, right? Bakmi Gajah Mata used to be a family restaurant back then. Now it's not. Anyway. Movie ticket was 7,000 rupiah. 7,000 rupiah, you can see right here. Fast forward about 20 years, and the same movie ticket is now 40,000 rupiah. So about 6 times jump. That's inflation. If you put money under the mattress, it's going to melt away. Fast forward another 10 years, Ant-Man and the Wasp cost you 60,000 rupiah, another 50% jump. Inflation is our most dangerous enemy. You have to understand that. So you need to, that is the reason why you're investing in the stock market in the first place, right? Because you want to hedge against inflation. Number 2 is low interest rates, the second enemy. Now, if you were living back in 1998, which a lot of you were there, right? 1998, interest rate was 39%. You don't need to invest in the stock market. Just subscribe deposit account, and you get 40% every year. Wow, so good, right? However, the interest rate, or also known as the value of money, banks give you interest based on the money that you have. So interest rate is the value of money. It's going down, that's why inflation is naik. Right now, I think it's lower than that, like 2.5% per annum, right? Second enemy is low interest rates. It's difficult to hedge against inflation when return rates are not low. And trust me, I've seen it in Korea, we've seen it in the US, interest rates will never go back up to double digits, never ever. Third enemy is tax. Now, Indonesia's effective tax rate is the highest bracket because it's progressive, 35%. If you're living in Japan, it's 56%. If you're living in Korea, South Korea, I have to pay 45% tax. This also will go up. The government's revenue is always going up. Do you know why? Because people don't want to make babies. Who's married? Okay, so let me talk to you gentlemen right here. How old are you? 31. Perfect. Do you have kids? How many? 1. How many kids do you want to have? Maybe 2. Now, how many siblings, brothers or sisters, does your mother have? Or your father? 5, huh? So I want to let you know that the median age here in Indonesia, so if you line up every single body in Indonesia and you pick the one in the middle, how old are you? He will say 30. In Korea, you lay all the people of Korea and then you say, in the one in the middle, how old are you? He's 45. You put everybody in Japan, put them on one line, and then in the middle, how old are you? He's 50 years old. So if you don't have babies, before your mother or your father had 5 brothers and sisters, kan? So it looks like that at the top. Young people support the elderly. But now you only have 1 baby. The maximum you say is going to have 2 babies. I mean, young people, you look young. How many are you married? Do you have babies? No. How many babies do you want to have?
Maybe one.
Maybe 1, right? That's how it is. Does any woman here want to have 5 babies? This is what it's going to look like. So tax rate is going to be higher and higher every single year. Also, I don't need a crystal ball. I know tax rate is going to go higher, and the government is going to try to find how to tax you. For general people, tax is not very important. And for you, because saham is final tax, maybe that's not very important. But trust me, rich people always think about tax. Everyone, even our chairwoman, Ibu Mimi, is very, very considerate when it comes to tax. She hates tax. So, the 3 enemies that we have is tax, inflation, and low rates. This is your enemy, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's talk about yourself. Let's talk about us, right? Our own lives. I want to just simplify our lives. This is your life. It looks very kind of simple, right? It is very simple. You grow up, and so this is the consumption level, and this is this saving, you're not saving, and this above in your life cycle is when you save. Alright? It goes like this curve. Now, you are a student, you go to university, and then you find a job. You get married, you have a kid, and then you buy a home, your children go to elementary school, your children go to university, your children get married, and then you retire. And then this is the time when you start to spend more because you don't have any income. This is your life. It's just one simple. I don't know how old you are, everybody's different, but you probably are in somewhere right here. Again? Now I am somewhere around here because my son just went to college, my first one, and I only have 7 more years to work because I'm 49 years old, and retirement age in Indonesia is 56, so I have 7 more years to save, and then I'll be spending. I need to be prepared too. Now, all of these events in life, you know that's going to happen, right? Whether you know when you're going to marry, that's not important. You are going to get married. You are going to buy a home. You're going to buy a car. You're going to have to send your kids to elementary school, blah, blah, blah. Now, every important event in your life is not free. They all come with costs. And they're not cheap, by the way, right? So if you don't prepare, and then one day you want to buy a house, you want to buy a car, and you don't have any money, how are you going to live your life, right? And the brutal truth about all of these events in life, right now you're 30 years old, and maybe you need to prepare for your son's college. Of course, it's 20 years apart, but still, if you don't prepare, it's going to be problematic because all of these events, they come with a cost. And the problem is, as we've discussed with our enemy, the price doesn't stay the same. If you want to buy your car after 5 years, that car price is not going to stay the same, trust me. The price of Ayla in 2013 was 91 juta. After 10 years, the same car, Ayla, costs you 134 juta, which is now up 40%. So if you are preparing to buy Ayla 10 years ago, and you are preparing, let's say for example, you're thinking about 90 juta, and then you come to buy the car and then the price went up 47%, well, it's problematic, It is problematic. And car price going up 6.1%, and your salary going up 10%, yeah, maybe you think that the salary is higher in terms of increased rates. However, the nominal value is different. So at the end of the day, if you don't plan for this, it will be just like this donkey looking to catch the carrot on a stick, which is attached to your body, so this donkey will never be able to catch that carrot. Retirement is a very important part in your life, trust me. And the real reason with this retirement is that it is the biggest component when it comes to doing your financial planning, and it's the last stage. It is the last stage. Now, I Googled it, how much do you need to retire in Indonesia? It's $1,500 per month, but usually you have to think it like this. You need to prepare 70% of your last drawn salary. If your last drawn salary was 50 juta, then you need to prepare 35 juta at least. Also, the rule of thumb in terms of preparing retirement is starting early, right? Starting early. How do you do that? Your age. Let's say your age is 20 years old. Divide it by 2, which now is 10, right? Put a percentage at the end. Divide your age by 2, put a percentage. If you are 20 years old, you have to set aside 10% of your monthly income as a retirement plan. If you're 40 years old, you have to set aside 20% of your monthly income. So the earlier you start, it's much easier for you to prepare. That's why preparing for retirement should be the most important thing. And the point I'm trying to say earlier is that retirement at 56 years old, and you have, before you would die at, let's say, 60. Now, by the time you reach 60, you will be living 100 years. So if you retire at 56 and you have to spend 50 years without any income, well, that's going to be really problematic. So that's why you need to prepare right now. It's okay, even if you invest in stocks, invest over the long term, then you get dividends later on, right? So you need to start very early and then keep saving your age, divided by 2, put a percentage on it. Now, the worst thing that can happen is, I'm so tired, I don't have time. Neglecting understanding yourself is the most important enemy, actually. It's the most important risk. So, let's move on to the financial goals. Financial goals, you have short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, right? And interestingly, everybody has the same resources. Ibu Miming uses BCA. You probably use BCA. Ibu Miming uses Samo Securitas. You have access to Samo Securitas. Damar said that, we can open an account online, right? So we have all the same resources, but you're not using it. Because again, you're neglecting. I'm just so tired. You can't do that. You need to understand yourself and also understand your enemy and build your financial planning. Short term is less than 1 year. If you plan to get married next year and you invest everything into saham, boleh that. Right? Because then if you lose all the money, you can't get married, right? So there has to be a principal protection element to it. You cannot invest in these short-term financial goals. Okay? Now, and it has to be easily converted into cash. If you buy saham that is not liquid, right? Like let's say for example, ASSR, liquid credit, 2 lots, 23 lots, and you have like 1,000 lots, I do masalah. Midterm, 5 years, maximum 5 years, like buying a car. Of course, if it's 5 years, you have to hedge against inflation so that there is the partial principal protection, but you need that investment component into it. So 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, depending on your risk appetite. Long term, you cannot have principal protection. You have to all in on investments like retirement plan because it's more than 10 years, right? Assuming you're 30 years old. The wealth formula is very simple. Wealth is a simple equation of income minus spending. How much you earn, how much you spend, that we call net investments. Kali, your return rate powered by the number of years. That's a simple formula. Now, interestingly, you have to look at all components and say, can we control this or can we not control this? That's what you need to know, right? Now, income. You want income to be up, right? Kalau gaji naik, happy. Kalau gaji turun, wow, problematic. You want income to be going up, but can you control that income? No, your boss controls the income. For me, Ibu Mimi controls my income. So you can't control. So we cannot talk about income when you're talking about this wealth formula. Can you you want spending to be lower, right? Because net investments will go up. Can you control spending? Yes, you can. If you're dating with a girlfriend and your girlfriend says, hey, let's go eat at Wolfgang Steak, which is like 1 juta, right, for one dining, you might say, oh, let's go to Abu Steak, let's go to Becky's. That's happy, right? Yes, we can control spending, so spending has to go down. Now, return, can you control return? You want it up, but can you control it? Now, you cannot control it, right? So let it be. There's something you can do. All you can do is diversify. But can you control the time, years you have stayed invested? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So just focus on these two. Invest over the long term. Of course, that's what everybody said, but it's not easy to do. But yeah, invest over the long term and reduce spending. So I advise you to sit down with your loved ones, be it your wife, be it your, your girlfriend, boyfriend. Sit down together and talk about your income and what you can do to reduce spending. Can I move to a smaller place because your kosan is 4 juta? Should I move to a small place? Transportation, should I not use Grab? Should I maybe use public transportation? Telephone, lunchbox, stuff like that. You need to reduce your spending, and that comes from you sitting down. I don't know how many people you do this every once in a while, or I recommend every month or every quarter. But if you don't do this, it's just like the same thing. You're not thinking about yourself. You need to think about yourself. Now, I go to the last section of my report is a review of Rich Dad Poor Dad. Many people read the book, right? I read the book back in 1990s when I was in college. Now, when I read it, I didn't understand what this guy was saying, to be honest. And I read it later on when I became a professional banker, and now I'm very happy to share that with you. The most important advice from Robert Kiyosaki is own income-generating assets. Maybe you understand that. If you read the book, you'll probably understand that. But for me, it was, what is income-generating assets? Now, assets are simply, if you're looking at it from an accounting standard, assets are something that you have on the left side of your balance sheet, right? Like cars, shares, computers, cameras. These are all assets, right? And the liabilities are more like debt, right? Something or payables, right? But the definition of assets, according to Robert Kiyosaki, is if this asset can put money into my pockets, it's asset. If this thing takes money out of my pockets, then it is liability. Let me give you some example. This is Shaquille O'Neal. Some people, youngsters don't know him, but he's a very famous basketball player. He has Rolls Royce. Robert Kiyosaki thinks this Rolls Royce is liability. It's not asset. Most people will consider this an asset, right? But Robert Kiyosaki thinks it's a liability. Now, this owner is the driver. He's using the Rolls Royce as a Grab service. Now that becomes an asset because this passenger will give him money, right? Cash is generated with that asset. Shaquille O'Neal will drive by himself and go to places, right? It's not income generating, so it's liability. This beautiful home and the family is, sitting on the lawn, happily ever after. That's a liability. Most of your father living in your father's home thinks that the father thinks that, oh, I have a very big important asset, right? If you're living there, it's a liability. But if the owner rents out that home to a couple, newly married couple, the couple will provide rental fees then. Now income is generated. That is why it's called an asset. So if there is no income, and you have to pay maintenance costs, benzin, and you have to pay taxes, STK. I hate STK. Everyone's you have to pay it. Oh, I didn't prepare my money. So it's income negative, right? But if Grab driver is owner of the car and he generates income, even if you net out the maintenance costs and STK, it is net income positive. That's why it is an asset. The same goes for the home. Again, personal finance income statement is money coming in and the money coming out. That's very common sense. But the balance sheet is a little different. The TV that you have in your home, it doesn't generate income, right? It's just for fun. Oh, I like this old Running Man. And then the car, it's not an asset, it's a liability, because if you're riding it, there is no income generated. So here is the sample. This gentleman is working at ABC. This guy doesn't have any assets, doesn't have liabilities. He gets the salary, right? Dapat gaji. And then he has to spend it on baju, kos-kosan, and makan. And then this is the net income, net cash flow. This guy purchases a car, but we don't put that in assets, we put it in the liabilities because it's income, net income negative. So his gaji will grow slowly, gradually, but now you have your basic necessity spending, and then you have to pay for the maintenance fee, benzin, and mashallah, STK. So now your net cash flow gets shrunk. And this guy wants to buy a very nice watch. If the battery dries up, if there is something wrong with the watch, again, it's not an asset. Many people think, oh, I have a very good asset, right? No, it's a liability because you have to pay for the maintenance fee, battery. And also, if the watch goes wrong, you've dropped it into water, right? So again, it goes smaller. And now you want to buy a home where you live and you are on mortgage. Now you have to pay more maintenance fees, more tax, and more interest from the mortgage, and the phase goes smaller and smaller and smaller. This is not what you want. This is not what you want. You want to be buying assets. Now, let's share a case with a lady working at Bersama, where I am working. Now, this lady doesn't have assets, liabilities, income. She gets income from the company. And then she has to pay her basic necessities, right? Same thing. The starting point is the same. Now, she buys deposit. Deposit is different now. Deposit is an asset because you have interest income that is generated. Yeah? So did you? And then you have one more pocket of income. And then you have here, net cash flow. And she buys this together to buy saham. This is the snowball effect, what Warren Buffett is saying. Funds, income is reinvested into the assets. Then you get the interest is now a part of stock, and stocks will generate dividend. Again, cash is generated from saham. And she pays for the necessities, and then there is now another pocket. Now this one will be invested in a home, but she will not live there. She will still pay for her kos-kosan, but she will get rental income. Cash is generated, another pocket of growth. And then she will purchase a business that she is not attending. She doesn't run the business, she invests in the business. And the business will also generate business income. Of course, you have to pay tax, you have to pay maintenance fees, blah, blah, blah. This is a good example of you building assets, not liabilities. Also importantly, the starting point, let us go back to the starting point. Who is this person? I put her in the asset column, right? Herself. You are the starting point of this whole journey, and you are generating income too, right? So you are the most important asset in your whole life, of course, obviously. That is the reason why you need to take care of yourself. You need to stop smoking, you need to stop drinking, you need to start exercising every day and maintain your health because you are the most important asset in this whole structure. Let me give you an example. RX 350. It's a Lexus car made by Lexus, so Toyota, right? After 5 years, at RX 350, the value has disappeared 30%. The residual value is 70%, and the longer you hold on to this depreciating liability, it will become worthless as time goes on. It's very common sense, right? And the lady working at Bersama rather decided to invest in stock of Toyota saham, Sampai, bukan RX 350, and the share price went up 100%. The value went up 100%. Over the years, the Toyota has given her dividend income. So again, this is a very prime example of earning a liability versus owning an income-generating asset. So let money work for you. Invest in income-generating assets, such as businesses that do not require your presence, stocks, bonds, property, income-generating property, IOUs, so debt, intellectual property, so on and so forth. YouTube could be there, right? So the moral of the story, let me sum it up for you. What was our enemy? Inflation, low rate, and tax. You have to know yourself, and you have to plan. Everything that's going to happen in your life, if you don't have money, you cannot do. So please sit down with your loved ones and discuss about your personal finance and your life. It's actually good to discuss about these kind of stuff. Set your goals. The goals should be divided into short term, mid term, and long term. And we have all the resources that we share together. We share it together, I share it together, you share it together, everybody has the same resources. Under the wealth formula, controlling your spending and investing until death do us apart, until forever. That's the most important thing, because you cannot control the other components. As I said, you cannot control income, you cannot control your return rate. So control your spending and invest over the long term is a crucial strategy when it comes to financial planning. Make sure you focus on building income-generating assets and not liabilities. Last but not least, consult with our Sampai representative. Today we have Nyaman, we have Clarice, we have, I don't know, a lot of people here. Denzel, we have so many people here. Please reach out. And if you think that this was very helpful for you, please subscribe to Sampai's Kehidupan service and also follow our YouTube and Instagram channels. Thank you very much.
Thank you.